Jai Hind everyone. I am Dr. Nitisha Sharvastav, faculty in the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College in Ghaziabad in Uttar Pradesh in India. Now, in previous lectures, we have covered the different rules to draw the root locus, starting with the first rule till the eighth rule. Now, in this lecture, we will cover the two important rules, rule number 9 and rule number 10. So the basic definition of root locus is it is a graphical method in which the roots of the characteristic equation are plotted in S-plane for different values of a varying parameter. Now the varying parameter is the open loop gain K, which could vary when the system is designed and being initialized till its end. The closed loop system is Cs upon Rs, which is Gs upon 1 plus GSHs. The characteristic equation here is 1 plus GSHs equal to 0. We are going to equate the characteristic equation to 0. So the locus of the roots of the characteristic equation when gain is varied from 0 to infinity is called the root locus. So in the previous rules, we understood that there could be some branches of root locus which could tend to infinity. And if the root locus tend to infinity, they go along a straight line and at a particular angle known as the angle of asymptotes. Now, rule number 9 states that the intersection of the root locus with the imaginary axis. Now, if the root locus is tending towards infinity at a particular angle, now it could be in this direction, and since root locus is symmetrical about the x-axis, then if the root locus is tending towards infinity at a particular angle, there is a possibility that it will cross the imaginary axis. So, at which point on the imaginary axis does the root locus pass? So, that is to be found out. Or there is a possibility that a particular locus does not cut the imaginary axis. It can pass through the straight line. Okay. So, such branches which tend to infinity at 90-degree angle or 270-degree angle does not cut the imaginary axis. Only those which tend to infinity at a particular angle which is not 90 or 270, then those angles, those branches cut the imaginary axis. So, how to find this intersection of root locus? There are two ways to find it. One is that it can be determined by the Routh criterion. That is one way. Or another way to find the intersection of the root locus with imaginary axis is at those points where we have S in the equation, we can substitute it with j omega in the open loop transfer function and equate the imaginary part to 0. If this is the case, either of the methods lets us know to find the point at imaginary axis where the root locus cuts it. Let us take one example and understand it. Now, the open loop transfer function given is k upon s into s plus 2 into s plus 3. So, if this is the S plane, this is the real axis and this is the imaginary axis. The poles are 1 at the origin, here 0. Let us say this is -1, -2 and -3. So one pole we have at -2 and another pole at -3. Since the number of poles are 3 and there are no zeros, then these locus which start at an open loop pole will tend towards infinity. And there are 3 angle of asymptotes here. Since P minus Z is 3, 60 degree, 180 degree and 300 degree. So from the centroid, the angle of asymptotes are make an angle to know what is the straight path towards the infinity. The one approach is, for the given open loop transfer function GSHS, we are going to substitute S as j omega, here also S as j omega and here S as j omega. So it becomes now G of j omega. Since we are talking about the intersection with the imaginary axis, we are going to rationalize it so that we split the real and the imaginary terms. To rationalize, using the conjugate here so that the denominator does not have the term j. Therefore, when you solve this denominator, we get it as omega square, 2 square plus omega square, 3 square plus omega square. Whereas the numerator is minus 5 omega square minus j in the bracket 6 omega minus omega 3. So after substituting S is equal to j omega, we get this expression gj omega hj omega. To know that where does it intersect with the real axis, the imaginary part of the expression is minus j 6 omega minus omega cube upon omega square 2 square plus omega square 3 square plus omega square, equating this imaginary part. This is the real part and this is the imaginary part of the expression. Equating the imaginary part to 0, we get that 6 omega minus omega cube is equal to 0. So that means 6 minus omega square is equal to 0, which results in this expression 6 minus omega square equal to 0 by equating the imaginary part of the expression to 0. Imaginary part are those components in the expression which are associated with the term j. Therefore, when you solve this, omega square is equal to 6, and solving this you get as omega is plus root 6 or minus root 6. Therefore, omega is plus or minus 2.5 radians per second. So, for example, let us see what is the centroid of this. Centroid is, as these are the angle of asymptotes, the centroid will be sum of poles minus sum of zeros. So, sum of poles is 2, 0 plus 2 plus 3, 0 minus 2 minus 3 plus we don't have any zeros divided by the P minus Z here is 3 because there are nil zeros. So this is minus 5 upon 3. So minus 5 upon 3 is the centroid. So it comes at this point, and therefore these are the points where the 2.5, this is plus 2.5 and this is minus 2.5. So these are the points where the intersection at the real axis on the imaginary axis occurs. Okay. So this property tells us if any root locus is tending towards infinity and if it is cutting the imaginary axis, then it will cut the imaginary axis both on the positive and the negative part of the imaginary axis, as root locus is symmetrical about the real axis. Now let us see what does the rule number 10 states, or before that we can also understand that the other way to find out the intersection of the root locus on the imaginary axis is, we have the characteristic equation 1 plus GSHS. This is the expression which we had taken. GSHS is K upon S into S plus 2 into S plus 3. Now, this expression, that is the characteristic equation, when we equate it to 0, this is the characteristic equation. S cube plus 5s squared plus 6x 6s plus k equal to 0. So, we'll arrange it in the Routh table. The highest order is S cube and the terms 1, that is the coefficient, is placed here. This coefficient and 6 placed here, 1 and 6. S square, the coefficients 5 and k are placed here. So this is 5 into 6 minus k divided by 5. So that is 30 minus k upon 5. So this is the expression here. This comes out to be 0 and this will be 30 minus k upon 5 into k upon 30 minus k, because the next expression is 0. So this is k here. So this is the Routh table. Using Routh table also we can find out the points on the imaginary axis where the root locus will cut it. So this is the expression. Now if I want to use the auxiliary equation, in that case, to make both the elements of this row 0, I make this, because this cannot be 0, I make this point as 0, that is this element, 30 minus k by 5 equal to 0. So that means for k, which is coming out to be 30 from this expression, k is coming out to be 30 from this expression, and making this element 0, that means this row is now 0 and the preceding row is 5 with an element here and another element here, k. So the auxiliary equation becomes, since this is the row with s square, so 5s squared plus k is the auxiliary equation. Now, this solving the auxiliary equation for the value which has come out to be 30, making this part of the row 0. That is, this part for to become 0, we have taken this, and the auxiliary equation by substituting k is equal to 30 is 5s square plus 30 is equal to 0. Therefore, the solution for this is s is equal to 5s square is equal to minus 30, which comes out to be root of plus root 6 and minus root 6, which is nothing but 2.5. Therefore, the point at which the root locus intersects with the imaginary axis is plus minus j 2.5, which is same as this omega, that is plus minus 2.5. So this is how you can determine the intersection of root locus on the real axis. Rule number 10 is about determining the angle of departure and angle of arrival. For poles it is angle of departure, and for zeros it is angle of arrival. So where do we come across these part in the root locus? These two part in the root locus is related to complex poles and complex zeros. Now angle of departure for a pole and angle of arrival of a root locus for a zero of open loop transfer function denotes the angle of tangent to the locus near the point. Now if I have two complex poles here, now if this pole, the root locus which is starting from this pole has to end at infinity, then what is the angle of departure for this? And since root locus is symmetrical about the real axis, you will have one pole here and another pole here. There will be a conjugate pole, or if in case of zeros, there would be a conjugate zero. In this case, the root locus will tend to infinity, something like this, or depending on the angle, it will tend like this. Fine. For in case of zeros, if you have a zero here and another zero here, it will be angle of arrival, since the root locus ends at an open loop pole. So there is some pole at infinity from which the root locus is coming and arriving at this pole. So angle of departure of the root locus from a complex pole is given by this formula, that is phi d is the angle 180 degree minus sum of angles of vectors drawn to this pole from other poles plus sum of angles of vectors drawn to this pole from the zeros. And what is angle of arrival of the root locus at a complex zero? It is phi a angle 180 degree minus sum of angles of vectors drawn to the zero from other zeros plus sum of angles of vectors drawn to the zeros from the other poles. We'll take up an example and understand what do we mean by angle of departure and angle of arrival. Now, for example, we have an open loop transfer function GSHS. GSHS here is having 1, 0 at minus 1, and there are 1, 2 and 2 complex, that means 4 poles. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 poles and 1, 0. Now, since there are 1, 0 and 4 poles, only one of the pole will start, one of the root locus branches will start at the open loop pole and end at a 0. But whereas the remaining 3 poles will tend to infinity. The root locus from the remaining 3 poles will tend towards infinity. So how do we find out that angle of departure? As per, it is the angles from angle of departure is sum of the angles of vectors drawn to this pole from other poles. Let us see what are those other poles. So other than these 2 complex poles, we have one pole here, another pole as minus 6 and another 0 as minus 1. So the vectors which are drawn to this pole, now we will talk about the complex pole, that is angle of departure at complex pole -2 plus J3. We will find out for -2 plus J3. We'll draw a vector here, this line. Right. So this is one. Another, we have this vector. Another, we have this another vector. This. And another one is here. From the 0. Draw it properly. Yeah, we are talking about this angle. Let us say this is one pole at 0. So this is phi P1 angle with the real axis. Let us say this is another pole. Let this angle be phi P2. And this with the real axis, this angle phi P3. And let us say this angle as phi Z1. So 180 degree minus sum of the angles made with the vectors drawn from the other poles plus sum of the angles made with the vectors drawn from other zeros. So this angle phi P1, because this is -2 plus J3, so we get it here, this line as -3 and this point as -2. So this angle, what we are talking about is 180 degree minus tan inverse 3/2, so which is 123.69 degrees. This phi P2 is opposite upon hypotenuse. The distance from -2 to -6 is -4. This is -4 and this distance is opposite is 3. So tan inverse 3/4, as it is this angle with the real axis, is 36.86 degrees. And since this is a straight line and with the real axis, it is directly that the angle phi P3 is 90 degrees. Now the angle this with the 0, with the vector drawn from the 0, and that comes out to be 180 degree minus tan inverse 3/1, because this distance is 1 and this distance is 3. So it comes out to be 108.43 degrees. So the angle of departure is, you need not look for it. These angles can be found with this trigonometrical relations. So 180 degree minus sum of the poles, which is coming out to be 250 plus 250.55 degrees. This is the sum of all the angles of the vectors drawn from the poles, other poles other than this, and this is with the 0. So this comes out to be 37.88 degrees. So this angle of departure, that is 37.88 degrees positive, is at the complex pole -2 plus J3. Similarly, if you find out for -2 minus J3, you will get the conjugate of it, that means with a negative sign. So when it has been worked out, you will find that phi d is minus 37.88 degrees. So we are talking about this. Now the angle which is formed, what we are telling is the angle which is formed is plus 37.88 degrees. Means the root locus which is starting at this complex pole will go towards infinity with an angle this, that is 37.88 degrees, and this will also go with minus 37.88 degrees. For your reference, I have taken the MATLAB output also to show you. This is the MATLAB output. This pole which is at the origin is starting at the origin and it will end at the open loop pole, open loop 0, whereas this root locus is going towards infinity at an angle of 180 degrees. Now this, as I was talking about, these are the two complex poles, minus 2 plus J3 and minus J3. This is that pole and this is another pole. So this is the angle what we have found out. That is the angle of departure, 37.88 degrees. And this angle we have found out in the clockwise direction, minus 37.88 degrees. So this is the discussion regarding the rule number 9 and rule number 10. Thank you very much.